So the big bad word beginning with D, discipline. Why is this a sore point for most people? Why do they find it difficult to get this dialed in part of their life? Why do they shy away when they try and put this into their daily habits? Discipline's one of these strange things that when you hear the word discipline, you tend to think of military, regimented, constrictive, tightly structured, or autonomous, so that there's not a great deal of room for creativity or free thought or freedom or that ability to get out there and feel that you have this freedom to do what you like. And it's this strange situation with discipline that we've covered off in previous episodes, and I think that it would be good to update you now that we've started the mindset coaching community and going through that beta testing phase. I'm getting way more input and information about discipline than just the reading the books and podcasts that I've mentioned about before. So discipline is one of these things that people have a perception of what it's like. And we covered off Jocko Willink's book, Discipline Equals Freedom Field Manual, which is a little bit of a dichotomy in that if we think about what discipline sounds like beforehand, it's the opposite of discipline. It means, you're under scrutiny, under the spotlight, you're kept within a narrow band, everything's very structured, and it doesn't sound free. And then you read this book and it's, discipline is the road to freedom. And it seems to be at opposites to what our general perception of discipline is. And I'm going to be completely open with my own experience of discipline is that I wasn't a disciplined person by the measure of any matter of means. I was very, very lucky that I was a complete maverick and would very much get away with things that most people wouldn't get away with. And that led me to get into this false sort of, short-sighted overconfidence, and that I could rely on that maverick ability. And something happened. I remember thinking to myself, if I can turn this on, this maverick ability, then how can I turn it on more? Because when I do turn this on, it's quite good. And this leads you into a bit of a strange dynamic, because you then start to look at how you operate. And one of the things that you find is that what you're trying to do is, when you have this ability, you're performing well and you're doing something well, and you think, why can't I do it all the time? And then you look at how you operate. And as I mentioned in the last episode, I was tracking my habits. So I was looking at how I was operating in terms of my day-to-day structure, and I also tracked my habits that I was looking to improve. Now, my list of habits were to get better results, and all these habits were derived from how do I be that maverick more of the time than I'm used to doing. So it was this interesting setup that I was trying to create a system to do more of the things that made me a maverick more of the time, rather than having this sort of lull and then maverick and then a lull and then a maverick. And I was like, right, how can we smooth that out? When you look at any sort of change in your life, particularly a habit's constructed of a behaviour that you repeat over and over again until it becomes habitual. It becomes an automatic behaviour pattern that you do really unconsciously. You do it without thinking. And that is where the core of habits lie, either existing ones that we have or new ones that we want to create. I mean, you want to create a new one. It can be something that you need to pay a lot of attention to. Now, this is why discipline is really, really, really difficult. And why habits are really, really difficult to get to stick. Now, here's why. Everyone likes the idea of new habits and more discipline and better results. but the path to get there is not something that they're going to like. If we're doing straight talking, no BS, no nonsense, that path is not going to be what you like. Let me explain why. There is the old version of you that likes it the way it is, that likes being the maverick every now and again, that likes being not disciplined, or has these habits that are contrary to your goals and dreams. And the old wants to keep you there. And you're going to have this battle daily with the new version of you that you want to develop, and that you want to move into these better habits, this more disciplined structure to tap into your potential. You want more of that potential, but that's going to take work, and it takes a shift from the old to the new. But it's not a benign environment. The old's trying to grab you back and hold you back to where is safe and what is known. And the new you needs to push out to this new evolved version of yourself that you want to achieve, that you want to become. And that is a battle we face every day. And just like anything, doing something that involves that level of effort and that level of energy, where there's two opposing forces between the old and the new, is hard to keep to. That's why most people fail. That's why discipline becomes the bad word. That's why we seek motivational videos. We want to get that motivation out there. Now, it doesn't matter what it is that you're trying to apply this to. You could be trying to lose weight. You could be adding more muscle. You could be starting a new business. You could be wanting to get better shape. You could be wanting to feel better mentally. You could be wanting to spend more time with your family, take on a business, learn how to invest, enjoy more time in nature, whatever your particular thing is, right? But the reason that you want these things is because they're not in your life now, and you need to make a change to adapt to get to that point. And when you want to get to that point, you need to make those changes. And as we said, most people don't realise it's a battle. And if we went into this situation that we're going to change this pattern, that we're going to disrupt and make a new one, if we went into it with the expectation that there's a fight between the old and the new, then people might have a bit of a different take on it. And here's why I think that setting the expectation that you're going into battle is quite a good one. Is that if you knew that you were going to have, say, a fight, say you're going to have a boxing match, and you've got an opponent that you're going to face, and in this case the opponent is the old you, and you are the new you that needs to fight off the old you. And if you were going to box and you set the deadline in, say, 4 weeks, what you wouldn't do over the 4 weeks is just do nothing. What you would do over that 4 week period is maybe start to train, develop your skills, develop your battle skills, figure out how to counter any of the attacks on the old. You'd want to find a way to defeat the old you with their attacks so that you can win, because when you win, you gain these new habits, you gain tapping into your potential, you gain advancement in terms of your own experience and your wisdom, because you're developing these new habits and skills, and it's taking you closer to the things that you desire, whatever they may be. And this battle is something that, if we looked at instilling discipline and habits, they're really like training for the new version of you. And that's why discipline and structure are the key to it. Because if you take something that you want to do and it's not something that's automatically familiar to you, then you go through this process of trying to get this evolution in yourself where you're learning something. The example I would give you would be, say you want to go and train in the gym. So over the years, I've had lots of people have asked me for advice on how to get started in the gym. And when you start out in the gym, you start lifting weights, there's two things that goes on. The first thing is it's foreign to you. So you're doing these movements where, you're not used to all these types of ranges of movements with weights. So it's this sort of shock to the system that you're not using your body in the way that you've ever done before. And you go into this environment where you're putting resistance via the weights onto you, and you're pushing yourself. So it can feel alien and unusual. And a few days later, you could get a bit of muscle soreness because your muscles have never really been worked like that. So a bit like when you start a new habit, you start off hot and then the soreness comes, whatever that may be. Maybe you're getting up a little bit earlier and you're feeling much more tired. Maybe you're working a little bit later and it's disrupting your natural rhythm. Maybe you're you started to get fit, and these new habits come with some pain. And just like if you were starting the gym, it would be easy to just stop because you think, oh, this isn't for me. But the reality is when you start, what happens is the second thing that happens is you notice rapid improvements in yourself. And those rapid improvements, I think the word now is called newbie gains. So new gains that are made when you're fresh to something. And that isn't limited to just the gym. So when you go in and you start doing something and you develop yourself, you will get these new gains very, very, very quickly. But what hurdle you need to overcome is the fact that there's going to be a lot of resistance in terms of, oh, I'm not sure about this. Now, there's two things that you can do is, first of all, you can anticipate that resistance is going to come. And the second thing that you can do is remember that the old you is trying to pull you back. You're not in any mortal danger. Nothing's really going to happen. You're not going to be, the world isn't going to end one way or the other. But what happens to your results is going to be a significant difference dependent on how you decide what to do when these questions in your mind crop up. One of the best ways to deal with these excuses as they come up is to preempt them. So a bit like if you had, you were in a war and your enemy's signposting what they're going to do next, you can preempt their attack. So you can prepare for what's likely to come next. So going into that, if you go into the changing your habits, you can preempt that your mind or the old version of you is going to throw some punches your way to throw up some excuses. So an example would be, I'm going to start to get up earlier in the morning so I can train or read a book, or I'm going to learn about a particular topic for that half hour in the morning. So I'm going to get up half an hour earlier and prepare. Your an old voice, the old version of you, is going to come up with something like, I told you we're tired. You're not a morning person. What you need is a counter to that. You need a counter to that is constructed in a way that's going to make sure that you can defeat that punch when it comes from the older you. So an example of that would be, getting up in the morning is not something I've done often, but I'm looking forward to getting up early because I'm going to learn, train, whatever the particular thing is, and that's going to improve my life because it's going to take me closer to whatever the result, outcome, or goal is. That's the way to defeat the punch that's thrown from the old you and defeat it with the answer from the new you. Because when that alarm clock goes off and you don't feel like getting up, you've got the answer ready. Yeah, I'm getting up because I'm looking forward to getting the result, because this is who I'm going to become when I do this at this time. That's a powerful tool to defeat that voice, and all of us have that. And one of the things that you get from this is that just like a battle, because remember, you're at battle every single day. So it's not just a namby-pamby flow of, yeah, everything's nice. You're in this. This is like a mental war between the old you and the new you. And just like any of the traditional war games that you'd have maybe played when you were a kid, one that comes to mind is the battleships game, where you're thrown out and you miss and you hit. You get the white sort of plug that you put in the board when you miss, and then if you hit the ship, you put in a red plug. You're keeping score of the hits that you get. Now imagine that you're keeping tally of the hits of when you succeed and overcome the old you, and you don't give in to the old you, and you beat that with the new version of yourself. And as I mentioned earlier on, that's why I got so ingrained into trying to track what it was that I was doing on a daily basis, so that I could be aware of how many wins that I was getting through the day. Because if you tally up those wins, that gives you momentum, because if you manage to get the first one right, I've got up early, and then I've got that training under my belt. So I went and climbed the mountain early on. I've done a sunrise hike, or I went to the gym early in the morning, or it was I took an hour early to study about that topic that I want to develop into a business. Whatever those things are, when you start to stack them up, that's a real positive boost in your corner. And the more that you do them, what happens is you realise the discipline which is the structure that you employ. I am disciplined. I am going to get up and I'm going to do this for this result, and this is why I'm doing it, and I'm going to schedule it out so that you know that you're giving yourself every opportunity throughout the day to be in a position to take those wins. So in the morning when you get up, that's the first one. The second one is when you achieve the next one on the list. And when you put a structure where you're giving yourself lots and lots and lots of shots at having the win, when you flip the balance, what happens is the old you is looking to get more than half of the decisions, because it knows if it gets the upper hand on you, then it's got the momentum to pull you back to default to who you were before. The new you is looking to get you to tip over the 50%, because when you start to see the momentum and the wins, you're going to go, hey, I like this. I remember I thought I wasn't a morning person, and I'm on the 5th morning where I've got up in a row. And I've been able to do the thing that I got up early to do, and I feel much more benefit from it. You know, I feel healthier, I feel sharper, I feel more knowledgeable, I've got more wisdom, and I like that that preparation that I've employed there is now spilling into other areas of my life. And this is the beauty about tracking what you're doing, to take the time to do it. And one of the things that I'd done on the Mindset Coaching Community Call on Sunday past was I pulled up the spreadsheet that I used, where I had a spreadsheet that tracked my daily habits that I'd written down in the spreadsheet, and it had the new habits that I wanted to employ. And these habits were listed as the things that I would need to do throughout the day to get the results of the things that I had set as my goals. And I was tracking and monitoring how consistent I was at these habits throughout the day. And some of it was having that data on myself to track how well I was doing. I was holding myself to account. It's another part of discipline, is holding yourself accountable. And accountability is thrown around in the corporate world, and a lot of people can have a bad or a negative connotation to it. But the reality is that with accountability comes great power, because when you're accountable to yourself, what you've done is you've taken the power in to realise that you are in charge. So you take the power to be in charge of your decisions. And that accountability is great in the sense that you know that you can make better decisions, and you know that you can get more out of yourself. And when you realise that power and you start to take charge of it, you can then build that into your structure, which is part of your discipline. So not only do you have the goals, not only do you have the measure of consistency, not only do you have the new habits, but you're also taking the power, knowing that you're accountable to you. And this, I reckon, takes as little as 21 days to see the results. So that's all it takes, 3 little weeks to, if you stick at it, by 21 days in, you will have rewired and hardwired these habits into your life, and that you will not be the old version, you will be the new and improved version. Part of the thing that changes as well is that your identity changes. So who you see yourself as. An example would be that if you've ever seen someone that's done the couch to 5K, where they're out of shape, they've not done much, and they're looking to start a regime to go out and run, and that running will be with the view that they want to start to get a level of fitness that they can build up over time to the point where they can achieve a 5K. What happens in this situation is that your identity is that you're still you, but you've got a goal and you work towards that goal. But when you get to the 5K, a lot of people never ever put their running trainers on past that, because they then realise that, hey, look, that's it finished. That's mission accomplished. That's it been achieved. When you start to add habits into your life, you change your identity, because instead of just achieving that goal, you become a runner. So you go from someone that's running for a goal to then someone that in their life as their identity is someone that runs. That means that beyond the event, you get to keep that identity as yours. And that then starts to become part of you. And when you do these things, like such things as physical activity, you get these endorphins that help feed that positive loop within yourself. And when you start to lay out your life, you start to realise, right, okay, I've become a little bit more disciplined, I became a little bit fitter, I've developed these new habits, and then I've improved in this area. Now you start to go, well, what else could I do? Where else could I apply this in life? And then, just like I had 14 on my list, so I had 14 items that I wanted to institute into my life. And with those 14 items, they measured the things that would make a material difference to my results, and also a material difference to myself and how I seen myself. And I knew that if I instituted these in my life, that my life would change. And I had 4 years worth of data, and I explain on the mindset coaching group where I thought I was much more consistent than I actually was. So I would have said, I go to the gym and I train this hard and I do this and I do that. And then it wasn't until I'd had it down, tracked on the spreadsheet, which in itself is not sexy, not glamorous. A lot of these things that you do to become really, really good at something are anything but sexy and glamorous. So the reality is that I had to track this thing that I didn't really want to track it. It was a bit of a burden. It was a bit of a task, but hey, I tracked it out. When I tracked it out, I seen that I could see where the gaps were, because I seen that I thought it was much more consistent than it actually was. And that's the power of tracking this information. And if you commit to doing the menial tasks, the hard things, right, the things not necessarily hard as in that they're difficult, but hard as in that you don't really want to do them, or you could think of 100 other things to do, but they make meaningful change should you stick to them, then that's a real superpower that you can deploy if you can go over that resistance, because there's so much draw on your attention. There's social media and YouTube and all the potential videos that you could want to watch. There's shorts, there's reels, there's people's stories, what people are up to, there's news, there's TV, there's reality TV shows. So there's much more captivating things to do out there than track how your habits are. Look, I get it, but if you want to tap into your potential and you're prepared to put some of this into action, you will unlock potential in you beyond your wildest dreams. And that's really what we want to get to. We want to get to that point where that becomes what you want to be. You look at your life and you say, hey, look, this is the old me, this is the new me that I want to strive to, and I'm prepared to make the move and bridge the gap between the old to the new. I understand it's a battle, and I understand it's a war, and I am ready to go to war. And one last thing I would say is, if you improve yourself, don't think that this is limited to yourself. And I'll give you an example of this, is that when you start to improve, that will spill into other people in your life. People will see things that you do and they'll be like, how are you doing that? And an example would be my son George, he goes out and plays football with his football team. I'll go along to the training and his games, and before his training and his game, I'll go through some mental training where I'll reinforce the things that he's going to do. I'll reinforce and suggest the things that he's going to notice. I'll go through this little sort of mindset programming to make him ready to go out mentally and make sure that he's at the top of his game. And then before we start, we'll make a point of arriving early, and I'll warm up with him. So you can think about it like there's not too many parents that will go and do that. Parents are busy. They've got loads of things on. They've maybe just finished work. Why would they want to go and sort of run about a park with their kids? So I make a point of it, stick my trainers on, and we'll warm up in the pitch. And it's small things like we'll do some push-ups, we'll do some burpees, we'll do some split lunge squats, we'll do some double leg squats, then we'll run up and down the pitch again. And it's getting that blood flowing, but also not just the lower parts of the body, but the upper parts of the body, because you need physical strength. And now seeing Georgie's teammates are seeing that, and they are now wanting to train because they're being inspired by his discipline. And his discipline comes from seeing other people that are disciplined. And when I'm going along and George is seeing me disciplined and he's ultra disciplined, he's an incredible incredible picture of discipline. He gets up early by himself. He trains early by himself. He's decided not to eat junk by himself. Right? He makes sure that he's watching all the stuff that's out there that's reinforcing why it's great to have this structure and discipline and pushing himself. And when we go to when we went to the football training, the trainings around an athletic, the football pitch is in the middle of an athletics track. So the other evening there's the athletics guys are out training, running around the track. George and his team are in training in the pitch. And I decided, I've got my running trainers on, I'll just do some laps around the track whilst I'm waiting, and ended up having to take my hoodie off because it was a bit warm, so ran round a couple of laps. And there's youngsters there that are doing their athletics training, and I don't know if they knew that I could hear them, but they were shouting like, "Here's this sort of big muscly bodybuilder, do you think he'll make it one lap round the track?" And I've went round another 3 times round the track, and they were in disbelief because they're like, "Here he's doing another lap," and they didn't think it was possible for someone that was heavier and more muscular to do endurance stuff. And I didn't think that Georgie's team at all were paying attention to where I was in the track. But when I'd finished, George had said, one of the guys that he plays with was like, "I can't believe your dad's got the stamina to go and run. That's him doing another lap round there." Now, I wasn't doing a particularly fast lap and I wasn't running particularly hard, but it shows that you being at your best or you doing the little things can inspire others, because they are seeing that they have these perceived limits on people that when someone does something that they didn't think was possible, they're encouraged, they're inspired by that. And then they look to themselves at what else is possible for them. And that's the whole thing, is if you can do a little thing that it might not mean a lot to you, but go out and inspire somebody, and particularly the youth, because they're so impressionable, right? And they need heroes, they need people to look up to. And those people that they look up to are the people that are prepared to do the little things, right? And I think that the world where it's at just now could do with a little bit more of that. And it might be something as simple as just running a few laps around the track or arriving early with your kid to go and train. But it comes from you. If you want to inspire others, then be an inspiration to yourself and go out and push yourself and do those menial things where you're prepared to train when you don't want to train. You're prepared to get up early when you don't want to get up earlier. You're prepared to work a little bit harder when you feel you don't want to push. When you feel like you've had enough that day and you just push through into that resistance and you get that little bit more out of yourself. I'm going to tell you this right now. People will notice, right? Because your identity will change. The old you will die off and the new you will come through. And that new you has been constructed by your goals and your dreams. And most of all, it's tapping that potential that we all have. We all have more potential in us. And it's frightening that we're using a fraction of it. Wouldn't it be good if we could get a little bit more of that? Wouldn't it be good if we got more of that from ourselves? Wouldn't it be good if someone noticed that? Wouldn't it be even better if that was the youth that are coming up? Wouldn't it be good if they had seen someone that they were inspired by? Wouldn't it be good if they done something that inspired others? And this is the power of pushing yourself that little bit harder and just showing what's possible. That's why I think that even though at the start of this we opened up with discipline can be quite difficult. Discipline can be something that is a struggle. We need to look at it as a battle, and a battle we're prepared to fight, because winning that war is a special place to be. And I think that we should all strive for that. And it doesn't matter if the battle you feel like you're winning some days and some days you're losing. Just keep going until you get that edge. Just tip the balance. Because I promise you, if you keep at it and you stick to it, you will get there. Because we're all capable of it. We've seen many, many things in history with people doing amazing things with everything going against them, the underdogs. That's why we like that story so much. We love hearing that because it's true of us all. We've all got more in there. So I hope you've enjoyed this week's episode, Discipline on Conversations with an Investor. If you like this kind of content, follow me for more. I'm on all the social media channels. We'll be putting up reels, clips, content, and also tidbits from myself, stories, lessons, things that I've picked up, tales from the past, and everything in between. I've got a mindset coaching community. So if you want a structure, a format, and a template on where to do this type of stuff, come and visit me over there. The links are in the bio and the description and the show notes. And if you want to level up your mindset and be around people that are looking for the same thing as you, they're all there. Also doing a property investment course to do the no BS, no nonsense, straight talking, none of the garbage. I'm a guru, I've been doing it for 10 minutes chat, I can make you a millionaire in seven days nonsense. We're going to show you the cold hard facts and what to do, and if you're prepared to put the effort in, there is no better resource out there. So stand by for that. I've also, in line with that, got a property coaching community. So whether you're just starting out or you're looking to level up the investments you've got, if you're looking for forecasting, information and accurate data about what's really going on out there, then I think you should give us a visit. Come over and see what we're up to. From me this week, that's a wrap.